I'm Kelly. Here we are in the Unfinished Business exhibition. I was one of the members of the advisory group that was putting the exhibition together over a number of years.
Hi, I'm Kemi Alemoru. I am the culture editor of gal-dem, a magazine run by women and non-binary people of colour, sharing our perspectives on the world. And also we're on display, just a short stone's throw away.
Right, so Kemi, we had a look around the exhibition. I guess one of the things that we were dwelling on was the newspaper, the open spread of the West Indian Gazette. Was there anything in particular that sort of struck you about the newspaper?
Well, first of all, you know, for my sins, I did not know enough about Claudia Jones. We started to make connect some dots between the work that I do and we do at gal-dem and her legacy, and that was really interesting to me. I really think it's important to think back.
I think one of the things that Claudia Jones aimed to do when she established the West Indian Gazette in London in 1958 was to have a newspaper that was both popular and covered sort of popular subjects, but also quite radical as well, you know, very staunchly anti-colonial, anti-imperial.
Just to have something that is relatable and something that rings true. I think a lot of people in our community picking up, say, The Sun or the Daily Mail. I don't necessarily relate to a lot of what's in there because it's just a direct attack on my personhood, really. Looking back and paying homage to those who came before us is something that is super important, but you know, you could always do more of it and you could always dig deeper. And I think having the actual newspaper in front of you, because it's great to go to the Black Cultural Archives, etc., and that has been digitized recently, but to have your eyes actually feast on the spread and to be able to read it and to be able to get a feel of the tone and stuff is it's something that isn't actually that accessible unless you're really, really digging.
I'm interested in to what extent do you think gal-dem, or the conversations that you have amongst the team, do you look at past publications that Black women have produced?
I feel like it comes up particularly in October, as these things do, when it's Black History Month, and you know, other publications are let's just cover Black people just because we ignore them all the time. But you know, Black people are our everyday bread and butter.
365?
Yeah, that's that's every day for me.
I think Claudia Jones really saw the West Indian Gazette, well, not even saw it, it was used as a campaigning organ. One campaign that springs to mind was the campaign against the 1962 Immigration Act, which was an act that was introduced explicitly to curb the immigration and the settling of coloured colonials. So this is Black and Asian people who were British subjects, and because they were British subjects and British citizens, they had the right to come and settle in the UK. And the 62 Immigration Act stopped that. And there was a long campaign against it.
It does sort of feed into the legacy of people just using what they have at their disposal, which I suppose is what that newspaper was doing, and it's what we're doing. So, you know, all the histories are connected, and it is good to just look back and see that you're not the first. I went on a day where I felt like a proper journalist. I was snooping around the Manchester Library. I'm, you know, on my Blues Clues hype. I'm looking for Black history, and then that is when I stumble across pictures of Olive Morris. But not just Olive Morris, her crew and the ecosystem that she existed in, of, you know, women from Manchester who had been involved in organising alongside her.
Especially with women's history and even with Black history, how individuals were spoken about encourages us to think about them as isolated, lone individuals. And we don't necessarily visualise or imagine the communities and networks and collectives that are working around them as well. Well, one of the things that my grandmother and my great aunt often said to me about Olive Morris is that they would call her a revolutionary.
In the photo, she kind of looks quite feisty. Can you describe what's going on in the image, and also just how her image is used?
Olive is standing in front of a notice. It looks like an eviction notice. It says a legal notice, berating a man with her finger pointed in his face, giving him a good what for. And the man is probably either a bailiff or a landlord that is trying to get Olive evicted. One of her key organising routes or rationales was around housing. Her impact in shaping the Black women's movement as it was in the 1970s, inspiring not only the Brixton Black Women's Group, but also OWAD, the organisation of women of African and Asian descent, the genesis of so many Black women's groups around the country: Camden Black Sisters, Leicester Black Sisters, Elbow East London Black Women's Organisation, all came from her, well, not only her organising, but the organising of her comrades as well. And I think because she died so young at the age of 27 in 79 is probably one of the reasons why so many people remember her as being a pivotal figure in the movement. I mean, she was a formidable fighter. She was fearless, is how people describe her to me. But when she died, you see her peers, her comrades, beginning to find ways to remember her. One of those ways was to campaign for this building in Brixton to be named after her. And in 1985, it was incredibly rare, if not, this may have been the first building to be named after a young Black woman, definitely a local young Black woman.